Transformers. But just the 3D ones. So that's parts 3, 4, and 5. Sadly, Bumblebee was not in 3D, so we won't be talking about that one today. Based on the 80s toys, this movie series should have been bundled with every 3D TV sold. For a live-action movie, in my opinion, they represent the peak of the 3D experience. The first Transformer movie in 3D was Dark Side of the Moon. I like how it takes a little history about landing on the moon and inserts itself into the narrative. There are even cameos by several astronauts, including Buzz Aldrin, who was famous for punching a guy who accused him for not actually going to the moon. Now that's a real astronaut. Having not seen this since 2011 when it came out, I forgot how funny this is. The first half is all jokes, crude jokes, and it makes the second half all the more shocking with how fierce the fighting gets. As mentioned, I consider this peak 3D experience. From what I have read, you are seeing a massive collaboration of every method of 3D available on display here. Scenes were shot in native 3D, and the effects were rendered in 3D, which isn't done so often anymore. However, also over an hour of material underwent post-conversion 3D, so this was thoroughly combed and crafted in 3D. Depth is not an add-on or an afterthought, and it really shows. I do remember thinking back then how similar the look of the finale was to the finale of the first Avengers, which came out roughly a year later. The style of the enemy ships, especially the large worm robot, seemed very similar in style. I wonder if there were similar people involved or if they were trying to outdo each other's spectacle here. And that shockwave worm is the outstanding effect of the film. It's, from what I've read, composed of 70,000 interactive parts. Good luck building that toy. An odd little factoid with this music, with the music in the movie, rather, there's a moment where a U2 song called North Star plays in the background. It is not on the soundtrack, and to date has never been released by the band, and today it is something of a weird enigma for fans of that band. And also, dwelling on the soundtrack, this movie puts a Linkin Park song to great use. The opening notes from the song Iridescent, I believe, are frequently played to great effect. It really helps mark the departure from a comedy to a serious action movie. My memories of my reaction coming out of the theater back in 2011 were of being blown away by the visuals, but completely bewildered by what the story might have been. Watching it again, now 10 years later, I actually had no problem following the narrative. I wasn't confused at all. I think I enjoyed it more the second time. And one thing I've noticed, having watched all three, is of the three that I'm going to talk about today, this is really the only one that gives the Autobots any time to interact amongst each other and build any sense of their individual personalities and how they get along as a team. The other ones deal more with the humans, which brings me to Extinction. Now, story time. I put on the next Transformers movie, Extinction, fully believing that I had never seen it before. I started watching it, enjoying it, reacting to it, thinking about the plot, guessing where it might be going, and sure, I recognized a few actors, but I just chalked that up to seeing trailers. But close to the end, I realized I knew what a character was about to do. There's a kind of a plot-twisting switcheroo with one of the characters towards the end. And I realized I knew it, and it hit me. I had, in fact, seen this before. I watched about 80% of this movie, having no idea that I've seen it all before. I enjoyed it. It was fun, but what does that say about the movie? In terms of 3D overall, it has more scenes that really yell out at you, hey, look at me, I'm in 3D. So for an action movie, that's an improvement of sorts. However, it does have many shots that are flat. They tend to whiz by unnoticed, but they're there. And there are also a lot of cardboard cutout 3D. It's not every shot. You get a variety of different approaches to 3D here. And it's actually a good study in that you get examples of very obvious conversion right next to something actually shot in 3D, and then something that's very well detailed in its conversion. And it all flies by in moments together. My feeling is that it was great when it really mattered, and that the flat and cardboard shots tended to be more inserts or done when things are really too busy. This one is a lot less jokey than the previous one, and though I enjoyed the previous one, I found this new serious everyman approach actually refreshing, though it did start to feel a bit draggy in the exposition. Far more focused on the humans, and with a few tweaks, the script could have been for a Mission Impossible or 007 movie. It was a lot of fun to see the Dinobots come in at the end, although they really did feel tacked on. But it's a Transformers movie, and we're here for the robots, so any way you can get them to show up is worthwhile. So no complaints about that. And I was a little surprised that they would take the time to bring in the Dinobots and not really do anything with them. In the next movie, Last Night, it really felt like they were really being set up for almost a movie on their own. But now we'll get into Last Night, which sounds like a Katy Perry song. The beginning of this movie is fantastic. The 3D of these fireballs hitting this medieval battle is fantastic. It has dust and mud flying everywhere. For me, this movie opened with a tremendous bang, and I just had the widest, goofiest smile on my face through the first, I don't even remember how long it went on. Was it 15, 20 minutes? I don't know. I loved seeing these fireballs come rolling in. There's no robots in this opening. This is all just a big, crazy, probably not terribly realistic medieval battle. But it's just a very visceral 3D experience. It's got everything you want. It's got battle, yelling, particles, fire, explosions, and it looks great. And it really, you can really see the details flying around in 3D. It's just a really good 3D moment, and it really started this movie with a tremendous bang. And the scenery here, just to dwell on this beginning, I loved the beginning of this movie. It just had all these great shots of medieval scenery, trees and stuff. Again, no robots here, but they do come. Now, the funny thing about this movie is it spends a lot of time developing characters that just disappear at a certain point in the movie, only to be literally flown in at the end to just do a few very convenient and accidentally helpful things to the end of the movie. Very strange. Now, again, I haven't seen the Bumblebee movie. I don't know if this was supposed to be a setup for a future sequel or something, but they just seem to do an awful lot with people that they doesn't go anywhere. But it's a curiosity more than a complaint. It was still a lot of fun how they did it, how that came about it. I heard nothing but bad things about this movie. I thought I was in for a real dog of a movie, but I had a great time with it. That robot here that you see, for me, was the best part of the entire movie. It's played by the same guy who plays the head butler in the Downton Abbey TV series. And he's basically playing himself that same character here as a surly robot, and it's crazy, it's insane, and it's just wonderful. There's a moment where he goes out to get some fish, and that just cracked me up. I just loved it. I don't know how many Transformer fans are also Downton Abbey fans, but for me, it made this movie very special having him in that role. There's lots of great detailed sets. Now there is in all the movies, but there are shots of the planet. Now the premise of this is, I think the writers of this movie must be avid listeners to Coast AM, a late night radio show discussing paranormal, extraterrestrial, conspiracy stuff, and it seems loosely based on the stories of a Planet X floating around out there waiting to come to Earth to wreak havoc. And of course, it's the robot planet in this movie. And it looks great. All this kind of junkyard barbed wire look. 3D just loves it. And a couple of final points. Although I enjoyed the movie, there was something very sad about making Optimus a mindless bad guy. Although not enough to ruin any fun here, it's perhaps one plot point I would have changed. Also, in these last couple of movies, the aspect ratio changes a lot, and it's occasionally very disconcerting, especially if the tone on the screen hasn't changed. As I said at the beginning, I think all of these are must-sees for anyone looking for Blu-rays to feed a 3D habit. 3D is a theme park, and these are some of the best rides you'll find.